David and Leo both hit a $100,000 a year salary. David immediately upgraded his lifestyle. He leased a luxury SUV, moved into a downtown high-rise, and maxed out his 401k because society calls that responsible. He flexed his promotions online. Leo stayed in his studio apartment, drove a beat-up sedan, and completely halted all traditional investing. Instead, he dedicated exactly 90 days to a highly contrarian cash flow sequence. David mocked Leo for letting his cash sit idle. Then, the black swan event hit. Corporate layoffs slashed 30% of their industry. Within weeks, David couldn't make rent. He broke his lease, returned the car, and drained his retirement accounts at a massive penalty just to survive. Meanwhile, Leo lost his job too, but he didn't panic. His bills were covered indefinitely, and he used his capital to buy up assets at fire sale prices. David thought building wealth took 30 years. Leo knew it only took 3 months. He did it using a heavily guarded system called the 90-day velocity protocol, a financial reset the middle class is programmed to ignore. The 90-day velocity protocol is not a budget. It is not a suggestion to skip a morning coffee, and it is certainly not a passive investment strategy designed to yield a pathetic 7% return over 4 decades. It is a ruthless 3-phase capital reallocation system designed to completely sever an individual from the fragile, debt-based economy. The protocol dictates that total financial transformation does not require years of slow saving. It requires a singular, violent burst of focused execution lasting exactly 12 weeks. This system is divided into 3 consecutive 30-day sprints: the Liquidity Purge, the Asymmetric Pivot, and the Leverage Engine. By executing these 3 phases in strict order, the average worker transitions from a state of financial fragility, where a single missed paycheck means ruin, into an untouchable economic fortress. The banks hate this system because it drains capital out of their lending machines and places it directly under sovereign individual control. The first 30 days are dedicated entirely to the liquidity purge. Most members of the middle class are actively hemorrhaging capital. They exist in a state of financial illusion, believing that high limits on credit cards and financing approvals equate to actual wealth. They do not. During month 1, the objective is extreme financial triage. Every single outgoing cent that does not keep the individual alive is immediately halted. This requires liquidating liabilities disguised as assets. The financed car must be sold, the subscriptions must be canceled, the expensive lease must be broken if necessary. The goal is to aggressively strip away the parasitic debt that drains monthly cash flow. Society dictates that looking wealthy is the prerequisite to becoming wealthy. This is a deliberate trap designed to keep workers chained to their employers. By purging all lifestyle overhead, a massive chasm is created between income and expenses. This is not about living in poverty forever. It is about taking a tactical 30-day step backward to establish a foundation of pure, unencumbered liquid cash. Without liquidity, an investor cannot capitalize on crises. When the market bleeds, cash is the only weapon that matters. Understanding why the liquidity purge is so difficult requires examining the psychological conditioning of the modern consumer. From birth, the population is indoctrinated into a debt-driven existence. The education system preaches the necessity of the student loan. The banking system idolizes the 30-year mortgage. The culture worships the auto loan. These mechanisms are not tools for building wealth, they are extraction devices. A credit score is simply a metric of how profitable an individual is to a bank. By worshiping at the altar of the credit score, the middle class willingly signs away their future labor for present-day trinkets. When David leased his luxury SUV, he did not buy a car. He sold his future time. The 90-day velocity protocol completely rejects this paradigm. It recognizes that true wealth is not the accumulation of depreciating physical goods, but the absolute control of one's own time. The middle class operates on a timeline of decades, hoping that slow, blind investing will eventually save them. The elite operate in sprints. They understand that by briefly stepping outside the societal matrix of consumption, the entire mathematical trajectory of a financial life can be permanently altered. With the parasitic debt stripped away and a horde of liquid cash established, month 2 initiates the asymmetric pivot. Traditional financial advice dictates that newly freed capital should immediately be locked away in a 401k or a broad market index fund. This is the second great lie. Locking up capital in vehicles that cannot be accessed without severe penalties ensures that the individual remains dependent on an employer for daily survival. S&P 500 returns are for preserving wealth, not creating it. To change a financial destiny in 3 months, capital must be deployed asymmetrically. An asymmetric investment is one where the downside is strictly capped, but the upside is mathematically infinite. During month 2, the hoarded liquidity is directed into 2 specific areas: high-income skill acquisition and micro cash flow assets. Instead of buying shares in a mega corporation, capital is spent on acquiring a capability that instantly multiplies hourly earning power, be it copywriting, specialized coding, or high-ticket sales. Simultaneously, capital is deployed into small, overlooked digital or physical assets that generate immediate daily cash flow. The objective is to build a secondary stream of income that requires zero reliance on a corporate HR department. The danger of mainstream financial gurus cannot be overstated. Figures who preach extreme frugality mixed with slow, passive investing are entirely disconnected from the reality of the modern economy. Inflation operates as a hidden tax, silently destroying the purchasing power of the middle class. Saving 10% of a stagnant salary while the money supply expands by 40% is mathematical suicide. Traditional advice is designed to produce obedient workers who never rock the boat. It teaches the population to hand their capital over to Wall Street managers who charge fees regardless of performance. The 90-day velocity protocol reclaims that capital. It demands active, aggressive participation in wealth creation. By rejecting the slow path, the investor stops playing a rigged game. The rules of the traditional economy only apply to those who lack the discipline to build their own economic ecosystem. The final 30 days are dedicated to constructing the leverage engine. By month 3, the individual has slashed liabilities and established a new asymmetric income stream. However, if this new income stream relies solely on trading hours for dollars, it is nothing more than a second job. Month 3 is about decoupling time from money. This requires building systems. The new cash flow must be reinvested into automation, software, or delegated labor. If the high-income skill acquired in month 2 was lead generation, month 3 involves building a system that generates those leads while the individual sleeps. If the asset acquired was a digital storefront, month 3 is about automating the fulfillment process. Leverage is the ultimate dividing line between the rich and everyone else. The middle class uses leverage to buy liabilities, mortgages, and car loans. The elite use leverage to multiply their output. The 90-day velocity protocol forces the creation of a machine that operates independently of human fatigue. Once the leverage engine is active, the individual has effectively cloned their earning capacity. This is exact the moment financial freedom is achieved. It does not take 30 years, it takes the ruthless execution of this specific architecture. Completing the 90-day velocity protocol results in a permanent psychological shift known as the fortress mentality. When the black swan event hits, when the recession hits, the bank fails, or the corporate layoffs begin, the individual who has executed this protocol does not experience panic. Panic is a symptom of financial fragility. Because the liabilities have been purged, the monthly burn rate is nearly zero. Because the asymmetric income streams have been built, cash continues to flow regardless of macroeconomic conditions. Because the leverage engine is running, the individual has the free time to survey the economic carnage and identify opportunities. While the rest of society is desperately liquidating assets at massive losses just to feed themselves, the individual operating from the fortress mentality is aggressively acquiring those assets for pennies on the dollar. Recessions are not periods where wealth is destroyed, they are periods where wealth is violently transferred from the fragile to the prepared. The 90-day sprint is the preparation. Knowledge without ruthless application is entirely worthless. Understanding the mechanics of the 90-day velocity protocol changes nothing if the individual refuses to step outside the comfort of societal norms. The blueprint has been laid out. The liquidity purge stops the bleeding. The asymmetric pivot redirects the capital. The leverage engine multiplies the output. The choice remains stark. An individual can choose the path of David, chasing status, accumulating invisible chains of debt, and praying that the fragile corporate system never collapses. Or an individual can choose the path of Leo, embracing 90 days of absolute sacrifice, rejecting the mainstream illusion, and building an untouchable financial fortress. 3 months will pass regardless of what actions are taken. In 90 days, the financial reality will either remain identical to today or it will be entirely unrecognizable. The banks, the corporations, and the system rely on the population choosing the slow, comfortable path to nowhere. The elite choose the sprint. The execution begins now.